I don't think anyone anticipated Envy being so good. I think they're a strong team. They have a pretty good grasp on the meta, and they play a really distinct style. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to our match because I think it'll be really interesting and close.
Having respect isn't the same thing as being scared. I think everybody on the team respects TSM, but we're confident in our abilities too.
I just think when you're on a winning team as an AD carry, it's really easy to do well. Because they're doing well, Laud looks particularly better than like other ADs, but when I watch his play, he's definitely not very great.
I think he's completely wrong. Sure, like they make me look better, but at times I make them look better too. That's the whole point of being on a team. I think I pretty much match him like mechanically, and I think I could be a better teammate than him too, so I think I have an edge on him.
When I play against him in solo queue, when I play against him in scrims, he's not very good. So I expect that to roll over to stage as well.
Let's go, 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 let's go.
Welcome, League fans, to the final day of competition in Week 4 of the North American LCS. Now, we've got 4 more best-of-3 series for your viewing pleasure this afternoon as our teams compete across 2 streams and 2 stages to test their mettle against the best in North America. Earlier today, you could see Energy arriving at the studio, and they're looking suave as they head into their match. They're going to be going up against Cloud9, who are starting Smoothie in the first game of the day, still going with that support swap. And over in the Battle Theater, we're going to see TSM arrive earlier for their marquee matchup up against Envy. Pyrian and Laud from Team Envy up against that TSM squad today. They're getting in their last-minute warm-ups, preparing for a big one. Thank you, everybody, for watching with us. I'm James Dash Patterson, and joined this afternoon by Mark Zimmerman and Alberto Crumbs Rengifo. So we recruited one more to help us with our slew of matches today.
I saw how well you guys were doing yesterday. I was like, I want to be a part of this.
Thanks.
It
Definitely wasn't like, I need to help them. it definitely wasn't.
By the end of the day, we could have used the help. We were
a third body would have nice.
Absolutely. Well, as we move through Week 4, our teams have begun to develop their summer split identity, and we have pretty clear lines between the top, middle, and bottom teams. So let's go ahead and work through those tiers, starting with our top 4.
Yeah, TSM definitely, kind of head and shoulders above the rest right now. They have the aggressive style that you want to see from Immortals, but it's kind of reined back a little bit. They still overstep a little bit, but that's fine. And they have good macro play on top of it. So they're kind of the complete package for now.
I mean, for me, Cloud9 is really the one that I want to see come into fruition and really battle it out with Immortals and TSM. Hopefully they can take a game against them in their next best of 3. But this team, I think they've been very vocal about how much influence Reaper has brought to the team in them becoming better teammates and understanding each other. And, this guy has a big repertoire behind him, and coaches are a big part of the game nowadays. So for somebody to kind of inject that macro game into Cloud9, which is what we know they've been missing for a while, and they're starting to bring it out now, with the high meme, basically. Right. Now they have it. And Smoothie and Bunny, when you hear them play, their comms are actually rather good. So I think that this team is just nothing but improvement from here on.
Another thing about C9 too is that they've played a lot of best of 3 actual series. A lot of people are 2-0, and you're getting a lot of 3 games in, and that's something that Reaper's going to be really useful in because he has the ability to influence that series as it goes on. He learns more about what the other team's doing. He can adapt, and so that's really where you see the value of a coach, and especially a good coach, is how well they adapt throughout the series.
Week over week improvement for that squad. Let's jump to that middle bracket of teams. We find Apex, Liquid, CLG. Thoughts on this trio of teams?
Well, I think you can see that they're still struggling. There's each of them have a part of their game where it's that's not working quite right. Team Liquid's too aggressive. CLG, sometimes it looks like their old selves, and then sometimes they're just totally disjointed and don't seem to be a cohesive team, which is what one of their strengths were.
Yeah, I was going to say CLG is the hardest one to diagnose, right? As you mentioned, Team Liquid, we could say sometimes they're just too aggressive. They get behind, they're still too aggressive, and they lose the game even faster. With CLG, each game, it feels like a different element breaks down.
I mean, these teams feel like rock climbing, and then they finally grab onto something, and it just slips, and they got to start back from ground zero again, and they try something new every week. It's like, guys, we're revamped, we got new players, we got a new mindset. They try it again 2 weeks later, it fails, and then they have to start again. And it's just not going to be enough progress for them to quickly catch up to the top 4. So unless they actually get a firm hold on what they need to do and keep onto that, I don't see these teams really just taking over and making it into the top 4.
All right, and then we have that bottom set of teams: Energy, Echo Fox, Phoenix One, still looking for their first win.
It's definitely a struggle for these guys. Like where we're saying, the mid-tier teams kind of have one thing or maybe two things not quite working right. There's a slew of things that are not going in these teams' directions. Either it's mechanically they're not playing well, their drafts don't seem great, their macros not on point at all. They're messing up in the 2v1s all the time. It's like a barrage of things that need to be improved on. So
I mean, I don't think it's too early to be thinking about these teams just focusing on not getting relegated.
Right.
Like, it's going to be nearly impossible for them to make it out of here and make it into the playoffs. So I think that these teams should start thinking of just ways of getting themselves ahead of the other teams inside that lower bracket, making sure that they're not in the bottom, and hopefully secure that seventh place spot.
Yep.
So that, you don't have to go in playoffs. You get a big break. You don't get relegated.
Yeah, it's kind of terrifying to think that in week 4 it's about time to start thinking, let's not get relegated instead of let's shoot for playoffs.
Like, it's such a big difference between the skill in some of these teams.
Right, very much
and
so.
best of 3 really shows that. Whereas I think one of the interesting comments was like a team like Phoenix One potentially has a couple wins here in the old system, but here in the best of 3, even when they pick up that odd game, it's not enough to really hand them a scoreboard.
Right. I mean,
really.
Phoenix One has won 3 games this split. Unfortunately, no series. So in a best of 1 format, yeah, maybe they would have come out with
They'd be 3 and 4.
Yeah, they'd be 3 and 4. But that's the thing; they're not this time around, and that is what the best of 3s give us. Well, coming into our match of the week, both Envy and TSM. Well, they took some knocks yesterday, but we'll come out looking to put up a strong performance today and kind of stab back, as they didn't have great showings yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, you really don't think TSM should be struggling versus an Echo Fox, but they were. At the end of the day, their games were not super clean, and Envy kind of got beaten by C9 in a 2-0 that we thought would be much closer. Yeah, so I think both these guys kind of have something to prove today, and especially Envy going up this is probably like one of the last really difficult stretches in the schedule for them, and they haven't looked great so far.
Well, I think a reason for these kind of upsets that we thought would be either closer games or more one-sided with the TSM Echo Fox have a lot to do with the meta in itself. So we see a lot of addition of Shen, Cassiopeia, these new picks that have come into fruition, as well as the Hecarims that are even getting banned by TSM in some games. And teams aren't very used to this. Before it was all about Irelia and Swain, but now you got to think about Shen. How does Shen interact with the entire map? What about Hecarim, the Olaf? Things that are becoming a little bit more standard. So the teams that were already at the top had a very firm grasp on the meta, and now that it's shifting, clearly they haven't kept that grasp entirely. So it'll just take them a little bit of time to really understand how to play the map right with the current champions available.
All right, well, on to CLG, a team that we've been critical of throughout this split so far. But as they come in today, they're going to face the last-place team in Phoenix One. So our expectation, of course, is that they're going to get a win here and that this might be the start of a resurgence for this squad.
Yeah, I think coming into this game, you need to look to just get the win and don't worry about exactly how you're performing. I mean, there's been games like this one where Darshan is just hard carrying, picking up kills all over the map, split pushing. And then there's games that are like the total opposite, where he's just getting picked off in side lanes, having terrible TPs.
Right.
And I think what you just need to do is get a win here. It should be a feel-good win where you head into the week saying, all right, we've got another victory under our belt, and let's just work on improving.
I don't think that a win here is really going to be the signal for us to see a resurgence of CLG.
Right.
I thought so on the other week where they 2-0'd Echo Fox very cleanly. I was like, okay, Echo Fox didn't really try a whole lot, but CLG was very commanding. Their macro game was the same, but then eventually they played against Envy. They played against other teams, and they just dropped the ball again. So that's a whole middle-of-the-pack mentality that you're just kind of trying to get at something but can't seem to quite hold it.
Right. It's not necessarily to say that we're going to see a gameplay resurgence, but more of a record and standing resurgence. Because if we remember, CLG is playing Phoenix One today, the last-place team. Their final game for the first half of the split is against Energy, the 9th-place team, right? So their last 2 games are the easiest 2 teams. You would expect that they finish 4-5. That's not as bad of a record as the 2-5 that they're at right now kind of projects for them. So they've had the toughest schedule of any team up to this point.
Right. I think a couple of teams have had disappointing performances in the first half of this split, and I think when you head into that midpoint, if you're close to 500, given having a really disappointing first couple weeks. That's an okay spot to be in. Not ideal.
Not ideal, but
you know, given that you were like a couple of these teams were 1-3 at points, that this is okay.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Then you move into the second half of the split, saying we must improve, but we don't.
We
have
need to
make
be
up,
top teams now.
Right. We don't have to make up as much ground as many people may have thought we would. Now it's time to get a look at the most current standings. In first place is the still undefeated TSM. Immortals has sole possession of second place, with Cloud9 and Team Envy sharing third. Liquid leads the middle of the pack teams Apex, Energy, and CLG, with Echo Fox and Phoenix One rounding out the league. Let's take a look at what's in store for us today. NALCS 1 kicks off in the Battle Arena with Cloud9 versus Energy, followed by Phoenix One and CLG later in the day. And on NALCS 2, Apex takes on Echo Fox right after our match of the week, with Team Envy going head-to-head with undefeated TSM. Again, let's touch on this matchup specifically, Envy versus TSM. TSM still undefeated. You mentioned already, you think head and shoulders above the rest in terms of that top 4 squads. How do we think Envy matches up against them?
So I think that I want to touch on the meta point that I made earlier with the match that TSM had against Fox and Envy with Cloud9. Both of these teams struggled against the Cassiopeias and the Shens. So I think that when they meet head-on, they most likely aren't very rehearsed at these champions, so they'll revert to a more of the standard things that they were playing last week. So I think that this match, while they struggled a little bit yesterday, it will be a much closer than what you would think normally by the results from yesterday. So I kind of think that this will end up going to 3 games.
I'm probably looking more for a 2-0 out of TSM.
Really?
I think, Envy, they came out of nowhere to really grab a top spot in the league. And once they came up to this rough part of their schedule, it wasn't like we expected them to win, but we wanted to see just how good they are. And I think we've seen that they are kind of just one step below the TSMs, IMT, C9s. And, you know, that's an okay place to be in. And with that in mind, I think that they're going to lose, you know, pretty quickly to TSM.
All right, well, maybe they'll prove you wrong.
Hey, better games, I'm down for it.
Exactly, I would love to see 3 games out of these 2 teams. Well, if you see an amazing steal, crazy outplay, or epic team fight, be sure to tweet at LOL Esports with the hashtag LCS Big Plays, and we'll select some of your submissions to cover later in the show. And we got some great submissions yesterday. This one from Cecil Hoshino wrote, what Pobelter did to Liquid 15 minutes into the first game was the biggest of LCS Big Plays. Take a look.
I can go. You keep on. We can win this. We can win this. This is real. I got him. Nice.
Here's Pobelter. Huge ulti back in. Scoops them all in. And Immortals is going to run rampant in this team fight. Phoenix blows up and Belter goes off.
My favorite part is, I don't even know who it is, but whoever's saying, this is real.
Yeah.
During that clip,
it's
just like, this is a real
a little
thing.
unbelievable.
I thought he said Jesus is real. I was like, yeah, I can see that's
Just like, it's just
West
very
Green.
calmly like, this is real. This is happening.
The funniest thing is it's a 6-man ult because Phoenix is clone
It's
pop.
clone
Yeah,
pop.
so there's 2 LeBlancs getting shoved back. Like,
It's just like-
is it possible to have a
Yeah.
better ult? You need more like a Shaco in there, get like 8-man, 7-man ults?
That was a beautiful play. Definitely catapulted them to a victory there. Now we have one more, this time from the C9 versus Team Envy series, where Leviathan D3 tweeted, sneaky pentakill. If that's not an LCS Big Plays, I don't know what is. Well, me neither, so let's check it out.
Do they have the damage? Vitas repels into the air. Impact left alone. A kill coming through for Sneaky. Make that 2. He's keeping his team alive. A quad for kill for Sneaky. The pentakill to save the game. Huge lead for Cloud9.
Damage.
Hold it.
Penta.
Got it.
See, what I love about that one is the fact that it proves the theory that you should not hit tanks wrong. Just hit whoever is closest. And he does just that. This guy's closer, kill the closest guys, then move on to the people that are actually
As an
threat
AD
later
carry,
on.
that is
Yes,
exactly
just
what you should
hit
do.
what you can hit for free.
My favorite thing about any Sneaky highlight is he says like one word at the end of it. The rest
Right?
of his team will say some stuff and he'll just be like, same, or
Yeah,
agreed.
emotion never changes. It's just so
Got
even
it.
keel. All right, yeah, whatever. Pentakill. Put another one for the books. Anyway, we're all eager to get into the game, so it's time to send it over to the casters to get it all started.
Thank you, Dash. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Battle Theater. Thank you for joining us. I'm Rivington Bisson III alongside Sam Kobe Hartman Kensler.
Let's go.
We got 2 households, both alike in dignity here. Pumped up to bring you the match between NB and TSM. Not really an ancient grudge coming out from these 2, but it's still going to be an amazing matchup. TSM is coming into this match hot, despite some curious decisions that we saw around their objective calls.
Yeah, if we do go back to yesterday, I mean, every single #1 team the North American LCS has ever had always say we will not underestimate our opponents. We will not take this team lightly. But, it doesn't necessarily need to be you underestimating your opponents for these things to affect your decision making. Say, if I start a 21-minute Baron, right when it spawns, it's extremely powerful, and it might be just you overestimating your own abilities, or being in so many situations where they've been crushing in every single game. You can do whatever you want. You can take Baron, run away. Anyways, teams will be able to punish you for these things, and TSM actually came kind of close to losing against Echo Fox.
Very true, and Envy are looking to right some wrongs here. It has not been an easy road for them once they've been facing the top of the teams. They're coming off one of their toughest defeats of the season against Cloud9 now, but they're looking to bounce back here in the midst of their mid-season gauntlet, playing consecutive series against, like I said, the fiercest competition in the NALCS.
Yeah, Envy's a very interesting team. As I talked about on Analyst Desk, and whenever we have a new team show up and jump to the top of the standings, you have to look at all the tools they're using. Seraph is a big part of this. The shot caller from the top lane. He's directing the team. He's also, a big part of winning in the early game. Plus, we have to mention Ninja, their mid laner. This guy, he actually has the most player of the game awards for the team, but he has also had games where he just loses the entire game for the team. So there's a huge variance in Ninja's a level of play, basically from game to game. And we have to wonder how he's going to show up against TSM, because that there's a constant for TSM. That's Bjergsen in the mid lane. He will apply mid lane pressure just by being in the game.
There's going to be more memorable plays from that mid lane for sure coming, whether they're good or whether they are bad. Mid lane will be a matchup to watch, but this one, we really want to zoom in on the top laners for this one.
Yeah, Hanser and Seraph. We already kind of touched on Seraph here. This guy, not only is a shot caller and leader for the team, he's played 12 different champions, so he's willing to wear any hat for this team. Yeah. Do whatever they need in any composition, and they try and get it to the late game where he can, take advantage of side minion control as well as objective trading. Whereas Hanser, this guy has the top damage per minute of any top laner. He has the top KDA of any top laner, and he has the highest share of his team's damage dealt to champions of any top laner. This guy is absolutely crushing it, both in 1v1 play as well as in team fights.
Seeing these two go head-to-head, I want to see some different picks. I want to see that Hecarim come back out. I want to see these guys branch out past the Aurelia, past the Jax, and we see them really breaking down those top lanes. Probably going to get some lane swaps, though. TSM is going to want that early game money advantage. Drop some turrets, get the wards down.
Yeah, talking about the top lane champion pool, there's been a lot of Swain as well up there. These are two teams that both have played Swain and have it as a flex pick, so definitely a lot of variations there.
That's true. We didn't talk about that, and we will. They share a bit of those champion pools. We're about to kick off the starting lineups, but before we do, let's hear from Seraph. We asked him about rival TSM shot calling.
I saw a couple of the TSM game, and I saw Doublelift make a really fast call in the really dangerous moment, and sometimes it's right call. And I agree he's making a good shot caller, but I think even though they're snubbling faster, but our late game rotation is I think one of the best team in NA, and so if we don't get screwed in early game, I think late game we're better than TSM, I guess.
I actually really like this matchup, Seraph versus Doublelift, because when they were on CLG, these are two guys that kind of had some disagreements on how the game should be played. Now they're both shot callers for their teams, or at least adding to the shot calling for their various teams. And we get to see them kind of go up against each other and, how well can you control in the macro game.
And I feel like there's solid ground to what Seraph's saying there, is in the late game they have great shot calling. Things seem a little disjointed for Envy in the early game, but it seems like once the main shot caller, Seraph, gets that big picture, understands where everybody came out of lane, he can orchestrate that almost every time.
Yeah, it's a good point. We kind of went over how yesterday both of these teams had a little bit of a stumble. It was definitely more significant for Envy than it was for TSM, because TSM was still able to recoup and refocus and be able to take home the victory in their series, at least.
Let's see if both teams can get into this one in a full sprint. We'll start with the lineups to begin. First up is going to be Envy. That means in the top lane, it is Seraph. In the jungle is Proxen. Mid lane is going to be Ninja. At 80 carry, it's Lod. We heard the talk back and forth between him and Doublelift. We'll have to see the play. Support is Hakuo and Coach Miracle.
And on the other side, it's TSM. Up in the top lane is Hanser. Svenskeren at jungle. Bjergsen mid, double lift AD carry, Biofrost the new support, and Coach Parth up on stage with them.
Another guy to keep watching during this too. There's so many. I guess we're just gonna be watching the game, really. But Proxen in the jungle. Proxen in the jungle has, from spring to now, been doing so much better as well. So he's been enabling the team. It seems like once NV can get everything going in the early game, avoid a stumble, they're really able to hold on to a lead. Some teams waffles back and forth all the time.
Proxen's Elise especially was very impressive. He's another guy who's been playing a lot of different jungle champions. One of the things I like actually in the current state of the game, there's more room for other jungle champions rather than for almost the longest time we can remember. There's been 2 or 3 top ones, but now some more are starting to sneak in there. Even though Rek'Sai is kind of crowding out the majority of them, if she's off the table, then we start to get a lot more interesting things.
I would like to see interesting. Talk about TSM having these big champion pools. See what they can actually reach into. The Azir is banned off first. I like that from Envy right away. TSM felt okay to play the same composition twice in a row yesterday, and 3 Azirs along the way. So get it out.
Bjergsen's been playing a lot of Azir recently, going more carry from the mid lane. But Bjergsen has also shown he's very willing to play support, to play utilities from the mid lane. So now maybe we'll get a different look from TSM. We definitely will get a different look from the bottom lane. They've been joking about it for weeks here from TSM, as Double Lift has only played a single game this split on not Lucian. Now he'll have to play another champion. I don't think that's going to be a problem for him, but you have to wonder, anytime you just play a single champion over and over, you just really get used to that champion and used to all of its matchups. And the muscle memory definitely has an effect, even over a short period.
He's already got the shakes. He's like, I don't have it. I need my Lucian.
My Lucian.
Where'd it go? Where'd it go?
Lod has actually played a lot of Lucian as well, so we'll see. I think that Lod has been leaning towards Ezreal mostly if Lucian's not there. He also has some Caitlyn in there.
Yep.
But he's definitely had a bit more diversity. There's that Swain that we talked about. Actually, will not see him in game. Hunter's been pretty much Swain or Aurelia a lot recently. And he's been doing a great job, as we talked about, carrying from the top lane, just putting up great damage numbers and handling his own in lane.
I feel like that last ban would have been that Arise or Aurelia. It turns out to be the Rise now as the first pick. The Aurelia, or do they actually get that jungle for themselves? It's going to be neither. The Trundle is actually first picked up here for Envy.
Yeah, I do like that. As we talked about, every single time he's locked in, I'm a big fan of anyone who just smashes almost all matchups in lane. And Trundle's great into most melees, and look what they've banned. They banned Swain, so that range champion's not there for him to have to deal with. And then TSM took care of a lot of those very strong mages on the other side. And as of right now, I don't think they would... I mean, they could go back to, we said, TSM can very well show a different look here, but I don't think they would want to go back to the Hanser on tanks. He's been having a lot of success with his carry tops, so that Maokai mouse over maybe, just a joke.
It's been a while since the Maokai looking back.
Yeah.
Has to be all the way back to Immortals, and that was actually a loss for Team SoloMid in that engagement. It is going to be the Rek'Sai and the Karma pickup coming in for Team SoloMid. 2 very well-rounded picks. See that Karma still being up, and she's been played so much lately.
Definitely a huge rise in priority for the Karma. Everyone's relying so much on these speed boosts to maneuver. Since so much of the game now is around these mid-game team fights, because we've added extra objectives to the game with the changes to Dragons as well as Rift Herald being buffed. And they are actually significant. It took people a while to get used to them, but the win rates, especially in competitive play, when people have been able to take Rift Herald, and especially early Rift Heralds, have been very, very significant. And we've seen, especially in North America, people really focus on that. So Rek'Sai's a good start. As we said, that's pretty much the premier jungler right now. But you're going to need, some top lane presence as well. And it's a little bit difficult to get that versus the Trundle with Swain and Vladimir and Rise all being banned out.
Talked a little bit about that. Elise Proxen will lock it in, and we have the Ezreal, which usually between the Lucian and Ezreal goes to Lod, but we also saw Ninja toying with this yesterday.
Yeah, in their famed all attack damage composition. I'm pretty sure they won't go full attack damage again. They're already right here. I've locked in Elise, so at least they have a little bit of magic in there, but Yeah, they got reamed for that that champion select, and this technically still is a flex pick for Ninja. You know, he's one of the guys who is a sort of legacy Ezreal player, and he was always talked about, oh, this guy's got a weird mid lane champion pool. You know, when he was playing across the seas in other leagues, and he did bring it over here, but like I said, I think that Laud will be very happy to take that one up. Double is showing the Sivir already, though, so he actually doesn't double up. I mean, he doesn't go to another new champion because the single champion that he did play besides Lucian was Sivir back in week 1.
So nothing new from TSM. They're going to keep the same comp, not show too much coming into game 1, just play it strong, regular composition, and now Envy. Do they flex the Ezreal? What do they finalize with?
Yeah, I'm looking at Ezreal being the AD carry because if you look over at TSM side, you see double speed boost now and an Aurelia. That's a lot of dive for any AD carry that doesn't have a jump of his own. So I really don't see Envy going the Ashe route, even though Ashe has been super popular and you would like engage if your top laner is Trundle and your jungle is Elise. You don't really have the best engage, but I think it's just too dangerous to lock something like that in.
Ooh.
Okay, well, this technically still is a flex pick, but I would believe that Ninja would take the Varus once again. Varus has been a mid lane champion that's super popular in Korea right now, and Ninja has already taken that to the mid lane. And we'll see if he can actually pull that poke off, but we were just talking about how dangerous it is to take Ashe into double speed boost Aurelia comp. Varus, very similar situation that he's in.
Also, the composition in general here for Envy, putting themselves into a poke comp against the comp that wants to rush you down. If they get themselves behind, which they have been faltering early in games, that's almost impossible to find your way back in.
It does look a little bit scary here for Envy already in the draft phase. Now, they have locked in some counter initiation. Braum there with the wall that could do some to slow down the TSM onslaught, as well as if Ninja is very accurate with the ultimate from Varus, that can be something where you can stop someone in their tracks. And as you say, a poke comp is very good at, you know, focus firing down the first person. If someone charges in, they get nailed with that snare. Elise follows up with Cocoon. Ezreal can land skill shots easily since they're snared up. And the pillar from Trundle is what's meant to bring a poke comp all together. This is one of the age-old things. People have used Trundle in poke comps for years. And it's all about, you know, just getting that pillar in there, the slow, so that more of those skill shots can land from the team. Meanwhile, TSM, there you go. There's your last lock-in. And it's going to add an extra life to the person who's diving in. So you're going to have to take him down twice.
You really hit the nail on the head there, saying Haunter, continue to keep him off the tanks. More damage, and that Bjergsen utility can then come back out. We haven't seen the Zillion for a few weeks, but it is detrimental to that mid lane. He is going to make Ninja's life a living hell. We've seen Bjergsen's bombs get off. Now he has the speed to get into range to do more with the rest of this team. It's going to be hard. With Envy trying to sit on the back line and poke, they have a lot of things to dodge.
Yeah,
themselves.
It is. And TSM did a good job, you know, saving their Bjergsen pick for the last pick, just to add that extra little umph. Bjergsen, the crazy thing is, on Zillion, he's not only, you know, been able to add the extra revive for their comps and, you know, play for the entire team, he's also had lane pressure every time he's played Zillion, just in the 1 versus 1 matchup.
All right, before we load into Summoner's Rift, be sure to contribute to the conversation over on Twitter. Use hashtag EnvyWin or hashtag TSMWin to declare your allegiance. And we'll see how you're voting as we get in the game, probably just after those Keystone Masteries. We'll see how they are doing. Getting on to the Rift here, Envy really looking to find how they can do against these top teams. They've been faltering a little bit. TSM undefeated in the LCS, but really not feeling that pressure just yet. They said, we've lost a few games. We're just going to keep playing how we are.
Yeah, I really do like the mentality the TSM players have too. You know, every time I talk to one of them, they're like focused on continuous improvement, which is something they taught us in school. Okay, well, we've got to invade here. We'll save the school discussion for later. But these guys, they're always looking for areas to improve upon, right? And there have been mistakes from TSM. They have dropped individual games, at least.
Exactly.
And they always have that critical eye, you know, looking for, you know, what can make it just a little bit smoother. These guys are very dedicated, and they're putting in a ton of work to stay at the top of the North American LCS. See if Envy can topple them today or not.
I don't like what's happening, Kobe. These wards, they better mean they want to find each other in the 2v2 and not avoid each other in a lane swap. After all this smack talk, they're going to switch lanes.
I hate to break it to you, but Yeah, the Silver Karma here are just hovering in mid lane. As you can see, they're waiting for someone to be revealed upon on wards so they can make their decision which side to try and seek. Envy are going for that top side swap, and it looks like Double Lift and Biofrost and Double Lift are the first to reveal over that ward. So there they go. Envy switch gears. They send them down bottom. Let's get out of there, and Lod will be able to take the fight to Double Lift as soon as they transition into team fight phase, and he's got his tier stacked up already and worked through that early curve of Ezreal.
Give him some Qs. Q over the wall. Be a bro.
Oh, man. No love.
I guess not.
As he passes by the red buff.
Oh, well. Oh.
I mean, here comes the love from Biofrost.
Nicely played. Ninja actually walking into that prevented himself from taking a bit more in the early part there. It could have been a tether if Biofrost came in, but obviously level 1 Q.
Yeah.
Unfortunately did not work out with that early level up.
So there's a couple things, that go into these early plays. Of course, when you're in a lane swap, everyone always talks about, oh, the map is now swapped to top and bottom curve here rather than red versus blue, and you should be hovering, especially if you are on something like Varus, to your strong side of the map. For blue side would be the bottom side, but at least he does hold on to his flash, you can say there, and he just trades his ghost for the exhaust. That being said, took a bunch of damage on the way out. Here's our new fancy lane swap mode. You can see both of the turrets' health very, very close here. Should go down within seconds of each other. And the mini-map just moved over to the left side, so nobody gets lost there. Bjergsen early teleport back, and he has the freedom to do that since Ninja here is running the Flash Ghost. Extra Doran's Ring now from Bjergsen to try and add extra AP. Here comes the repeat gank, or the answer gank here, and Proxen is seen.
As we've been watching the lanes go down on the side there, just around 2 minutes, you can see it's still down. Svenskaren's flash would blown by the invade as Hakuo went in for the blue, so that'll be up around 7 minutes. We'll see if it deters him from getting to the lanes. But as we expect, timing quite close here, just a 200 gold lead in favor of TSM.
Yeah, and with the help of the Karma gank early, plus the fact that Bjergsen's running teleport, so you can shove super early and you can go aggressive and then use your teleport to get back to lane. Because of all these factors, he's up CS early in lane once again on the Zillion. Meanwhile, if we checked in and you were paying attention to both of those screens as far as the lane swap goes, both of the top laners did get their solo gold. The only real big difference here is that Aurelia Hanser was able to pick up a lot more of the last hits. He stayed around a lot longer, and having to use that teleport early to get into position here. We'll see if he gets punished or if they can actually catch up on those minions for Seraph, because you definitely don't want to be behind the Aurelia race to Trinity Force as far as top lane matchups go. Ooh. Flash for flash here. Proxen is going to actually trade them on this visit mid. Plus, you can see the focus with warding on mid here from Proxen. They don't want to let Bjergsen take over this game as they've seen him take over so many. Helping out with some presence mid. It does also help out Ninja get back up in there with the CS. Varus, he just wants to get to that point where he can CS safely with his arrows.
Well, it hasn't been too easy just yet. That early visit coming in from Biofrost really set him back to CS. He's trying to pick up right now, starting to even things out as they match into lane. And we actually saw Proxen make his way back into his jungle, not privy to the knowledge that as Hanser and the rest of the team were just up there. Quite a bit of ward, so with an eye on Proxen, TSM may be able to make that early game move they're waiting for.
Yeah, well, so with both junglers actually heading to the lane swaps to answer turret trades here, we may actually see that move you're talking about center around an early Drake for TSM. The Rift Herald will be spawning. The Rift Herald does take a bit longer than early Drakes after the changes and boost to his health. So we'll see if Envy actually gets the time to answer, because in this situation, ideally, Envy would also like to keep up on the turret taking pace, which they're a little bit behind on, and also keep up in the objective trading, get that Rift Herald, but TSM are just too quick here, and they're going to be up Dragon as well as the turret timing. Now, we'll see if that actually has any ramifications, because they could just ride out this small difference in tempo. as they switch over to the Rift-Tailed. But as you said, Rift-Tailed is very, very difficult to take. And if TSM really had wanted to try and send some people up here, it only takes a little bit to interrupt one of these Rift-Tailed takes. Nobody does go up though, and Envy will just even it out.
Seraph says, thanks, guys. Thanks for grabbing that for me. And how beneficial would that have been, actually, if this swap had happened differently? The Poke team getting the first Ocean Drake, having time to spend out on the map and kind of push TSM back. However, TSM get Drake number 1. Envy will answer, though. They still have a bit of movement on the map, even if they aren't showing the vote. 92-8 right now. And we'll see if Envy can fight back on that.
Yeah, that's a much-needed buff for Sarah in the Glimpse of the Void, which you get off of Rift-Tailed, because, as we said, the main difference in this lane swap has been that Hauntzer has been able to pick up so many more minions using that teleport early and sticking around in the minion wave for much longer than Seraph did. Hauntzer is up basically the entire gold lead that TSM has over Envy right now. Or a very, very large portion of it. He's up almost 600 gold on Seraph, and that Rift-Tailed buff is definitely needed to try and even those odds.
So what can Envy do at this point? Seeing Hauntzer getting big, knowing he's going to kind of be a split push menace, do they wait this out and try to get Seraph big, or can they almost act on it now?
I mean, yeah, that's what they're trying to do right now, right? Seraph is holding the wave at the turret. He's trying to catch back up in CS. The big thing is that he's going to have to go purchase before that really means anything. Because you can even up the gold all you want, but if you haven't gone back to base to purchase the item, not going to make a big difference. And Double Lift and Biofrost come to shove him in. They want to put a stop to this freeze, which is pretty easy for them, as Seraph has taken a lot of damage from the minions as well. And it's very difficult for Trundle to actually CS under turret if he's low like this, facing this duo of Poke.
Oh,
he actually may even go for the dive on him.
He doesn't really have a wave clear, still stacking the Jarm's Fist, and I don't know if it's going to be enough. He is able to get a few bites off. They didn't have a full connection, or just damage on the turret as Hakuo approached. Nice double bomb.
They definitely were surprised by Hakuo, and the reaction there was very quick for Bjergsen to teleport in to make sure things did not go terrible. Uh-oh, hook here.
They walk it in. Chain of Corruption connects. Biofrost puts himself up front. I'll be the last one out. Don't worry about it. And all this time, Hauntzer, 3 CS in that bot lane.
Yeah. Hooked arrow, basically, for the snare. Saved it. Anyways, the damage there from mid is the answer from Envy, as because of the surprise show up there from the support of Hakuo and the aborted dive from TSM, it does cost Bjergsen some of that mid lane pressure. They get some damage on the turret, you know, and Envy are able to stabilize a little bit, although the main job was done, right? TSM, they're still trying to nurture this advantage for Hauntzer over Seraph. It's a level advantage, it's also item advantage, and now all they have to do is try and maneuver it so that they can actually get that matchup, you know, once Hauntzer is able to complete his Trinity Force. Right now he's doing a good job just pruning the wave, you can see. He's trying to keep it at a manageable size so that he can react with teleport if need be, but it doesn't get so big that it's going to push really quickly. He wants to keep it right about there since he's got vision as well.
His will regroup, the cavalry of minions to slow it down, and Hauntzer is having a field day in that lane right now. Sitting on just under 1,000 gold, Bjergsen around 1,600 himself with money to go back on, but you can see how sure of themselves they feel right now, staying out of the map for long periods of time. And TSM was doing this the other day as well, is pushing with Biofrost and Double Lift continuously in one lane.
Yeah, I mean, their job right now is basically to keep up this pressure on the side without getting caught. And they have a very good duo to do that. Sivir and Karma, those are the two with the speed boost. So this duo is just supposed to hold this pressure point while their other two farmers get ahead. And the farmers are Svenskeren and Hauntzer. And those two are the ones that are holding the gold lead for TSM. And now he's moving in to claim this turret. TSM, an entire turret actually ahead, as the top side is going a lot slower for Envy. They're trying to answer. But it is, again, the couple of seconds that they've kind of been behind on the turret trading for most of the game.
They're very good at using breakpoints and excelling the turret drop. Gets you that gold where you want to get your breakpoints. And TSM now coming out with more items, control on the map as well. They do trade again on that turret, but their movement is always one step ahead. And once the fight goes along with one of these turrets, TSM's going to be on the inhibitors.
Yeah, and with the way that the side lanes are going here, so incredibly favorable for Hanser. I do like that Seraph is not going for Ravenous Hydra and he's going to go for the Titanic so he can get that health. Because if you're not significantly ahead, or if you're not getting your 1 versus 1 matchup as Trundle early on in the game, then the Ravenous Hydra actually is very scary and very risky for you to take because it does leave you very squishy. And Aurelia, you know, even with the Glimpse of the Void, you have to be worried about getting burst down with that. Even though we've seen so many people, you know, opt for the Ravenous, that's usually when they have a more even early game or even get ahead early.
Another Ocean Drake, 2 seconds. The TSM has already huddled around the bottom side of the map. Proxen is in range with the majority of the team. The teleport's ready for Seraph, so we may get some action here. But as a poke team, Envy would love to see where TSM is first before they try this.
Definitely they would. Landing poke before the objective is crucial, as they don't really have a super strong tank to soak up any damage, with Seraph, you know, being the one that's been kept down in this game. Now, if we broaden our spectrum here and look a little bit at the overall team comps and how people are, you know, reacting to those with their in-game purchases, I really do like the Svenskeren early Merc Treads on Rek'Sai, because one of the things we mentioned in Champion Select, you know, is how the poke comp full range is going to try and CC the first person who walks in and focus them down. Even if the Varus ultimate lands or the Cocoon lands, Aurelia does have her passive for Tenacity, and now Svenskeren with the early rush on Merc Treads, plus whichever one does get caught is going to have the revive from Bjergsen. They're building into countering it as well. Here goes a demonstration of tenacity as Sven gets cocooned.
That teleport from Seraph as well. This isn't even home guards. We're at 13 minutes, so they're going to be crawling in on this one. He did just finish the Titanic, though, so he's got a little bit of damage to bring to the table. The TP now coming in. That's going to be from the top lane. And Hanser, Seraph is the focus as he gets exhausted out. This one is slow going as a 13-minute 5v5 brawl in the bot lane for second-tier turret. Disengages, and it looks like TSM's going to stay for the turret.
Yep, they're going to try and get some extra damage here and finish it off. They do have the extra shields to push through.
On the Seraph, they do take him down, understanding his Subjugate was down, an easy target, but they trade now 1 for 1. Svenskeren very low, comes back up with the Chrono Shift. Hakuo's going to, no, yes, he does go down. Doublelift able to get the boomerang onto that one, and now Proxen is left up the river here. He's going to be eventually falling, as the rest of the team is looking to clear waves, get themselves back into position here. But TSM, like I said, they're going to get one of those fights around a turret, and they're going to take a lot if Envy is there to go down as well.
Yeah, and that is when everything comes crashing down around Envy's ears. TSM pushed right through. That early revive from Bjergsen is able to get Svenskeren right back up, so they do not even give away a kill. They not only knock her down the turret, the Drake is there as well. And the snowball is in full effect for TSM. There it is, full confidence to dive in on Seraph. We talked about how he was the one getting kept down, so they focus him again, take him out early. Bjergsen times his revive, so Sven gets right back up, flashes out, and he even was able to bait around extra kills. Really, really well played here from TSM. I have to say, very rarely do we talk about huge advantages, I guess, coming from Champion Select, but we talked about each step of the way during the pick bans, and TSM, this is what it looks like when they have the speed boost plus the revives, and Envy goes pick comp.
Yeah.
You know, their last couple picks were the Varus, and they kind of drafted themselves into a bit of a corner here. Unless you get like a super good early lead, or TSM really messes up on an aggressive move and tries the tower dive and botches the tower dive early on, it's pretty hard for a team like this that Envy are running to come back. They're going to try and do it right now with sieging up at the turret, but there's just so much control for TSM, and having taken all of the turrets on the outer sides for TSM, there's such a liability for Envy of getting flanked. It's extremely scary for Envy at this moment.
Only going to get tougher. And what do they ban next? You talk a little bit about coming out of champion picks and bans with kind of the lead already. And when you ban away even just about any lane of TSM, you're getting a lesser evil, not necessarily a champion they haven't played in a while. They're still good on the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th pick they have to go to, so it becomes very difficult. And we'll see the test here against Envy working for TSM. They come through with a speed composition and now are the inhibitors 16 minutes into the game.
Yeah, this is maybe the 3rd time that Envy have been behind on turret trading, and Seraph actually trying to defend is gonna lose his life.
Oof. The love taps. Took a while.
Extra love there from Double F. Thanks to my old teammate Seraph. Gonna cash in on some gold there, and Sven Skaren locks it down. That's gonna be a very, very free inhibitor.
Whoa!
As TSM are just
through him.
annihilating Envy.
That Triforce proc absolutely exploding. Lod. TSM onto the Nexus.
17 minutes into the game.
20 right now. They literally took apart a composition that Envy could put together, and then they made the shot caller have something to focus on all game by putting Double Lift and Biofrost in Seraph's face and his lane, and it has crushed Seraph's lane down. He may have minions to farm if TSM ever give the base breathing room. Double Lift will finally fall, as they were biting off way more than they could chew. They almost knew it, as the rest of the team is messing around in mid.
I mean, I guess you could say this is one of those scenarios.
Oh, hello.
Where TSM are getting a little carried away with their success.
You could go there.
And that's kind of what I was talking about as far as the psychology at the in-game intro. But even if you say they're getting a little carried away with the success, they're having massive success in this game to be inside of the base, killing Nexus turrets at 17 minutes. The good thing for Envy, all right, if we try and slow it down a little bit after this, and we do see their follow-up kills here on the duo, the good thing for Envy is that at least TSM don't get a lot of gold off of Nexus turrets.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely demoralizing to have your base destroyed 17 minutes into the game and have this clear avenue in, but at least Nexus turrets don't give you a bunch of gold, and if Envy can try and stabilize now and hold on for a very long time, they can. Yeah. There's hope there, but man, TSM are really running away with this game and making a statement at the beginning of this series versus Envy.
Where are they gonna head next? I mean, we said it at the beginning of the game, and Envy kind of put themselves in a bit of a rut choosing the poke comp against the undefeated team in the league that's always gonna want to pressure a new advantage. So if you fall behind against these guys, there's almost no chance of coming back. Envy looking for those variables right now and being pushed in every lane makes it seem pretty grim. Haunts on Seraph, and he can't afford to fight that. Sven Skaren and the rest of the team denying this security, the vision that Envy's trying to put in their jungle here, and just looking for an opening to take one more of their members.
Yeah, Sven Skaren's very happy to soak these skill shots, by the way. As we said, he's building to be the front man. Full defense, has the Merc Treads early. Maybe a little bit too much there as they burn the Bjergsen ult, but it's gonna pop right back up and go for round number 2 of soak all the skill shots.
Looks like they'll be able to clear a bit. Once they actually have the numbers there, they can clear these waves, but now that they have to be split thin because of this inhibitor down already, it just makes things that much harder. We had a question if, you know, Envy was going to come up against the top teams in the leagues and kind of falter. Even if they did, would they be able to kind of recuperate, figure out what the wrongs were and right those? And it seems like with it all happening so fast, even in a best of 3, they seem to not be able to.
Yeah. Definitely having some problems. I think they do originate in Champion Select because it was one of the issues yesterday. We mentioned briefly the full attack damage comp that they had, which, you know, those can be successful, but they're so ridiculously risky. And if you make that one mistake, then it's very difficult to come back from because the itemization for the enemy is so easy. And this time around, TSM actually weren't really hiding the fact that they were going with speed-centric, or, you know, Aurelia dive. And Envy were still confident enough, Ninja specifically, to pick, you know, the Varus and round it all out as a poke comp. Seeing that,
I think something like if they even threw a Victor in there with the gravity field and the Chaos Storm, TSM would have to run into that at least, but that would at least give them a little more AP, a little more option.
All Well, facing this full tank Svenskeren with Merc Treads, going to be backed up by a revive. He's going to be fearless running at this team, and all he has to do is get in there. He's got flash now as well, so one knockup should be enough for a Sivir plus Karma speed boosted Aurelia to get to that back line and take them out very quickly. Trundle really only works as the front line in poke comps if you're ahead and you're using the pillar at the enemy turrets to slow them down to land their skill shots. Trundle's not a peeler. He's not very, I mean, he can try, but he can only really slow people down a little bit. He's not someone with hard CC that's going to actually be able to significantly protect you against an Aurelia.
It's like they're just going to hatch this ward for now. They move off. Fast one.
Everybody take a bomb.
They tried this yesterday. Looks like they're going to bait it.
Yeah, that ward, though, Envy shouldn't get too far ahead of themselves.
Nice hail of arrows actually slows down the back part of the team, but as you said, Svenskeren feels just fine going in by himself first and allowing the team to regroup on him. TSM back off, looking for a finalizing fight and another open inhibitor there if Envy were to engage, but it looks like they're playing it as safe as they should. Oh, okay. I was going to say he's taking the wrong path, but he gets the save from Proxy.
Yeah, those are the two frontline guys, though. That's what TSM wants to be up there. They're fine taking the hits, and TSM can return to the same strategy.
Ooh, they're using a lot to get out of this, and Envy's not getting much back. There's the damage they were looking for. A very nice piercing arrow from Ninja. Makes TSM think twice, but oh, double it, thinking 3 times.
Some strong disengage there from Envy. This is what they want. They want multiple disengage opportunities. Now, they did have to blow some ultimates to get those off. Now they don't have Braum ultimate or Varus ultimate, and those are the two really main disengage options that they have. So with double lift, that Sivir ultimate, and Karma always having very low cooldown on her speed boost being back up, Envy have to be much more cautious for round number 3. They did a pretty good job disengaging those first couple ones, but weren't able to get anything back for it, and TSM aren't going to give up trying. And get the stun here.
Frozen Domain looks like it gave him just enough room to get away. He actually may get sped up, slowed down, or bombed out by Bjergsen here, but he actually gives up chase, and they give the red buff over to Lod. You saw with the True Shot Barrage.
Oh man, too, with Mountain Drake spawning here, that's exactly what TSM want. Double Mountain Drakes, they can do the same Baron bait again, only after the disengage from Envy, TSM can just turn around and burn Baron. They already have one Mountain Drake. If they get another one, that will be a very trivial objective for them to take. And Envy are going to be so cautious about walking up through the jungle with the pick potential that TSM do have at the moment. It's we talked about it being scary at minute 15 for Envy. Things are getting very, very, very worse for them now.
All they're relying on, too, since they're kind of money struck, is Recipeing and Farsight. They don't have any more vision wards to put down in their spots, so even walking into this, like you said, very dangerous, and they're not really leaving with any vision either. A few pink wards do go down, so they can have some breadcrumbs to stay safe. Not much, though. At least they know how to get back home. Defend those inhibitors. True Shot Barrage to peek at Baron. Pretty low kill game here with a lot of aggression from Team SoloMid, focusing on the turrets, getting their lead from objectives, and again, this fast rotation comp around the map that we consistently see now.
All right, let's talk about positives for Energy now, or Envy. Because Envy have been on the receiving end for most of this game. You know, at least Ezreal here, we talk about Lod trying to stack up. He's got his Muramana transformed. And we saw a couple times the successful disengages. If they can actually poke someone down through one of these disengage exchanges, they're not too far behind in gold. You know, they might be able to recover from that. This dragon coming up, though, is going to put a lot more pressure, because dragons are a lot easier to take for TSM. And as we said, the stacking mountains are going to make Baron even easier.
Got credit to Envy as well, not falling prey to these engages. 2 or 3 times now, TSM has used the Mantra Shield and double this ult to try and get in, and Envy is always ready for it. One of these times, somebody might move too far out, maybe not a Svenskeren or a Haunter, and that would be Envy's in.
Yep.
It's a small window, but they definitely have to work with right now.
And if Envy are able to get a team fight win off of poking someone down and focusing them before it really commits to a full engage from TSM, then they do have the team to siege up and take turrets afterwards. They could gain a lot of global gold from the 2 outer turrets that are still standing from TSM and, you know, take those down after killing someone. So there could be an opportunity for them to, you know, try and even up the gold. But again, the cards are in TSM's favor at the moment.
Yeah.
And all they really have to do is wait for this Mountain Drake to pop up, and they'll gain a lot more pressure drawing Envy out into the open, which is where TSM want them so they can chase them down.
I'd be impressed by this guy on your screen right now if he can come back and continue to lead this team. He was down quite a few CS, has roamed around, scrounged up the amount of CS to get himself back to at least even, and now a little bit ahead of Haunter, but still looking to complete more items. Haunter just finishing that Randuin's, but the Frozen Heart definitely going to help Seraph keep himself up in these fights.
Yeah, and the Frozen Heart is one of the few items that you can build to help your teammates out and peel for them as well. We talked about Trundle has a hard time peeling Aurelia. An AoE attack speed slow is one of the best things that you can try and do against her. Because she's just going to dive right past you. If you bite her to take away some attack damage and then stand close to reduce her attack speed, that's most of what you can offer. There goes the Mountain Drake though, and that's going to put that extra pressure on Baron. TSM should probably transfer up there right after this.
You know, it's almost kind of what Seraph said previously is, you know, our early game may not be that good, but I feel late game we're better. And it was kind of a back and forth early game. TSM slobber-knockered Envy. And then you saw Envy say, wait a minute, we know exactly what we're doing wrong. Let's stop this. We just didn't have enough time to stop our inhibitor and Nexus turret going down first. Because it seems like TSM just should have went back and did it again, but they haven't been able to.
Yeah, that's the problem for TSM, right? You can chase people down, but if you don't have much room to chase them down, aka if you're inside at the Nexus turret or at that inhibitor,
right?
You know, you can't chase them into the fountain. You get lasered down.
Well, Kobe.
Yeah, so TSM trying to draw them out into the middle of the map via these neutral objectives. And Pink Ward on that Baron, I think they should be able to defend it and get right back there to the baiting. Oh, they won't be able to defend it. Hakuo sneaks in, takes out that ward. Successful spy mission. But now he's going to have to run for the hills because once TSM move back in, they should just be able to put all that vision right back down and get to their bait game.
Looks like Double Lift is going to take top wave duty. All the buffs on the bot side are clearing so Envy can focus everything on the top side with Seraph's teleport being ready. And I think we're getting ready for one of our big fights here. Hopefully Envy, for them, can set up the poke on the outside.
Definitely. And focus, that is the key word. That's word of the day for Envy Riv, because they're going to try and focus fire a single person down. They have all of these range champions and then the pillar to try and slow that person down. If Envy can get that focus fire on someone, you know, keep them at range and allow Laud and Ninja to take them out, that is what a comeback is going to look like for them if it's on the table.
Got the real blue build for Laud. Still going for the Blade of the Rune King now. Even more appeal for himself as Haunter comes in. They don't want anybody getting close in these fights, and Seraph wants to get up close and personal here. That resolve is going to hit. Ultimate from Double Lift. His flash is also blown. It's carried over the wall! And Envy gets popped up like a bounce house. TSM's going to try to keep coming through on this one. Seraph will go down first. They actually went in to engage on what they saw 2 or 3. The poke comp engaged.
Okay, we're changing the word of the day to patience, Riv.
Oh.
Because Envy, when you're running a comp like this that's so fragile, we talked about this is exactly what TSM wants. They want to draw them out into the neutral objective. Here we go, another fight.
Oh, you got to get close. You got to see what's going on in the Baron Den, and it might just cost Envy more of their members. Haunter staying alive with the Chrono Shift. Just at the last second. Bjergsen. And it looks like 2 of them limp away. Biofrost looks like he wants to stay in play, but Envy has lost ground on the Baron, and they may continue to lose the objective now.
Yeah, Bjergsen has teleport, so that's why he's going back to base. He's going to teleport right back in. There he is. He's going to actually flank Lot.
Oh,
Ninja's
boy.
in trouble.
Yeah, hopefully not close. Ninja double bomb. He gets stopped up. Thunderlords as well. The finish is going to come from Bjergsen, actually, onto Ninja. And now they finally turn after somewhat of an extended ace in the park home run for TSM and Baron.
Yeah, this is a very clean game from TSM. The setup from every stage, champion select, into the in-game counters as well, looking at what Envy drafted, getting early tenacity, really just playing a well-crafted strategy, and the execution has been there for TSM. So game number 1 looks very good for them, and Envy just need to regroup after this, because this is a best-of series.
Oh, putting a lot of focus on Haunter and Doublelift as well. A Frozen Heart built up as well by Hakuo to get those auras kind of mixed up if they get split up in the fight. They're just looking to stay alive here and at least poke from range, but they're not getting any range. TSM closing the gap almost immediately every time they approach Envy's team. And here on the middle inhibitor turret, Doublelift and the rest are going to start focusing the top side.
Back to the inhibitor that we killed at 17 minutes.
Yeah.
Revisit you with Baron buff. And TSM close in on all sides. You can see they've got the 3-1-1 here. All the inhibitor turrets are going down. Inhibitor on the top side, and TSM close the loop.
Also one-on-one in the bot lane between Seraph and Haunter. Bjergsen's going to go ahead and lopside that matchup. And it shouldn't have too much longer to take down this turret. Envy scattering back and forth, trying to figure out which wave is going to be the one to stop. Hit up onto Haunter, stops him from going in, but the team is ready to actually route them from the other side while taking this mid inhibitor.
Yeah, there's just an absurd amount of speed on TSM's side. Zillion, Sivir, Karma.
Yeah.
Like, you can't catch anyone at this point.
You
Their
consider
rotations are over 9,000 RPM.
you consider it for the catch, the skill shot hit, because they're missing these cooldowns that they need to actually hit at a pivotal point in the game, and nothing's matching up with their targets because they're shielded like that. Doublelift ultimate up again if they even get an even stickier situation that they have to get out of. And a McHale's to boot. And they're going to go ahead, get that Baron back, and right back at it. Not much left in Envy's base.
Yeah, you can barely draft more speed. Maybe if you had Hecarim and Rammus as your jungler and top laner instead, then this would be
Janna?
the king. Yeah, John.
Well, then you lose Karma, so I don't know.
See?
Ooh.
You got to give up somebody good. I feel like, let's play a new game. Let's draft the ultimate speed comp that would actually still work. And I feel like Rammus and Hecarim would actually still work in this.
Yes. And then Cloud Drake can feel involved.
Yes. Sadly, we have not had any Cloud Drakes.
No love this game.
This would be the game to have them. TSM claim another mountain, and that means they'll be able to kill the Nexus that much quicker, because that's one of the only structures remaining.
Oh, so slow, but the flashes are up, putting them in range of Seraph. One goes down, and potentially the final fight of game 1 of the series here as TSM looks to have eyes on the Nexus. A lot of wards being placed in here. If anybody needs a fast back teleport in, Glacial Fisher goes out. Hakuo, Unbreakable is up. Pretty much saves his life there as Doublet gets the last few crits on. Ninja almost drops immediately as Haunter dives in. Svenskeren still being a huge tank on the front line. Literally just tanking the turret. Comes back up with Chrono Shift, and he is going to be still wreaking havoc at the doorstep of Envy's Fountain. That's going to be the Nexus turret going down. TSM controls game 1, and they take down Envy.
Yeah, definitely controls it. They absolutely demolish Envy in game number 1. In all aspects of the game. What a statement from TSM.
No more of that underestimating jazz.
Looking to prove themselves as the #1 team in the North American LCS, and very convincing performance.
Very convincing. We talked about their mentality coming in. They're saying, yeah, there's people seem like there's a lot of pressure on us because we're undefeated, but we've lost game. There are flaws. We're playing good, but undefeated is just a perk of having the wins on 2 of these best-of-3 series that they have been drawn to sometimes. There is flaws, but they seem to patch them up so fast. To examine that surgical game 1 victory from TSM, let's kick it to Dash, Mark, and Crumbs in the analyst zone.
Thank you, Riv. Surgical's a good word for it because they really were just beating Envy around the map. It kind of seemed similar to yesterday, the Immortals game that we saw against Team Liquid, where we were just kind of like, they're just a better version of Team Liquid, almost across the board.
TSM looked like a sports car and Envy like a family sedan. Like there's just
that's an even larger difference, my friend.
They're just so much faster macro-wise. So right from the start, we're talking about how during a lane swap, the top laners have to get there on the crash so you can start hitting the turret when the minions are there. TSM decides to put Hanser to start killing some minions in the jungle and then TP to the lane. So immediately, what Envy should try to do is use a TP advantage somehow by keeping the lanes, maybe looking for a play in the dual lane. Instead, what they choose to do is just keep trading turrets, and TSM gets away with a free teleport use to the top side to accelerate the push, and that immediately catapults Hansa to a really big CS lead. So the counter matchup, which would be Trundle into Aurelia, is no longer relevant because he's always behind.
And on top of that, just like the exhaust mid-level one, this just shows that TSM's willing to use their summoners to get advantages, even if they're
when
not massive.
They know it's not going to be used.
Yeah, because he's not going to use the exhaust at any point during the 2v1, so he blows it. You're not going to use the teleport at any point during the 2v1, so they blow it, and that's something that they're doing to get these small advantages.
Using it to increase tempo.
Right, so they speed themselves up, and then Envy is just behind the whole rest of the game, on top of the fact that, once you get both turrets down, you're kind of stabilized a little bit. TSM is just there on top of everything first.
Well, yeah, they've got the second turret down first. They're also on the bot side. They use that to pick up that first Ocean Drake, which is the beginning of a very sweet dragon assortment for them. Double Ocean into double Mountain against
Poke. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
the mid lane. So the mid lane matchup gets impacted so much by the early Ocean. A champion like Varus who relies on, okay, I hit my Q, 2 more Qs and I can all in or I can win the lane. Then it's never going to happen anymore. So now a matchup that you would hope that Ninja would be able to maybe even out. It's just not a chance of even winning it. So it's just so bad for what ends up happening.
So TSM's off to a good start. They do have this tempo game on Envy. I want to move to our first replay. Envy making a stab. They're trying to find their way back into the game. Their choice for doing that is to try and TP in and start a fight.
Yeah, and I think this is the kind of thing that a lot of teams have felt before, where they're just getting outmoved on the map constantly, and it's just so frustrating that eventually you snap and you're like, we need to fight, just force a fight. I've been in these situations, like I've heard the comments of teams like this before. You just want to fight so bad, and you can't ever get it. You're just losing turrets slowly over and over. It happens again, and then they stick around low because they don't want to lose another turret, and TSM dives. It's a great dive comp with Aurelia and Zillion, just being able to revive him. You see Sven get out here. And it's just like the most frustrating thing to deal with as a team, where you're just getting whittled down, so they try and make a play and it ends up fighting them.
Right. It ends up being a 3-for-0 as Elise dies somewhere down the lane.
And I think a difficulty with Envy engaging that is like the comp doesn't really have the best of engage. It's poke, so you usually want them to run into you. And on top of the fact that they're running double TP, so the Varus being such a slow mid laner, when he loses sight of Zillion and they see a TP coming onto the minion, they just don't know if it's double TP or just one. So they immediately just have to be like, maybe we should be more hesitant with this. And immediately TSM just punishes.
Just to jump on that, like that's something that TSM does really well, is they always seem to adapt really well to whatever the situation is. So we've seen times where they're behind in tempo after a dragon, they match the lanes. Here, it's a Varus, tons of wave clear mid. What do? Keep going to side lanes, move away from the Varus, make the Varus come to them. Yeah. And then we saw him top side getting CS advantages. Even if they're not getting the turret, the Trundle can't CS when there's 4 people in front of him.
Right.
And they just make these small incremental leads, and it's just, you just wear the opponent down to the point where they snap and like, let's force a fight.
And what I love to see is the fact that off the end of this play, TSM only increases the tempo, says we're not even going to give you another moment to breathe. We're going to start doing a top lane push for your inhib at 17 minutes, a 17-minute inhib. We did earlier in the split have that 19-minute inhib by CLG against Team Liquid in week 2, but TSM breaking that little record right there with this 17-minute turret take. Well, Envy just doesn't seem to know how to respond.
Yeah, so they find themselves behind in tempo, and they're like, to rebase, and they say, no, let's try to get the inhib turret ourselves, which obviously isn't going to work because Sivir, they can just wave clear so well with Zillion, and off the play, they can't get bottom, they go middle, and immediately just get killed, and it's such a frustrating position for Envy to be in. That the fact that what they practice, what they're training on, is just getting outpaced. So it looks grim for game 2.
Yeah, this is a little greedy. We were talking about how much you get for it. This is about 150 gold they're going to go for, and they give up a bunch of kills for it. Really not worth it. That Nexus turret going down is not going to impact the game until the end of the game.
Right.
A little greedy, but I mean, TSM so far ahead, they can.
It's about the psychological impact.
Just like we're losing a Nexus turret, but honestly,
for 20 minutes.
Yeah, honestly, it's not that bad. Giving these kills up is bad for TSM, and we see them stall out a little bit after this. it's something that we talk about a lot about, where when you take an inhibitor so early, they also lose the mid turret as well.
And Hanser.
Oh, turret stays up? No.
They got the turret.
But just what we were saying, like when you lose an inhib that early, it's now only like you have 2 lanes to work with as TSM, and we saw them stall out a little bit, but they kept up their dragon control, which was, as Crumbs pointed out.
These guys have a blessing on the dragons. Triple, like double ocean, triple mountain against Poke. Like, what more would you want?
They're paying the dragon off. They're like, hey, I need mountain right now. Give me mountain.
Well, right. So they've got this small gold advantage, 4K moving through that 30-minute mark, but they also have that objective control. This is going to kind of push them towards the final fight here around the Baron pit, because they do have such high threat of a Baron take now. Envy has no choice but to contest them in this area.
So all this was culminated by TSM forcing the matter around Baron for the last 7 minutes. They're just constantly at Baron. And it took Envy 6 or 7 minutes to make the mistake. So they try to kill them over and over and over. And TSM is very vocal about how they like to press the situations, where they will just keep trying the same thing over and over that they know is putting pressure on the team until Envy makes a mistake. And immediately the collapse from the Rex side just led to all of this. They know when to turn. They know how to use their TPs to get back and just keep forcing the matter, so that if TSM is the one with the plan, and they're executing the plan on, say, maybe a 10-second window, Envy has to not only be able to recognize that just as fast, but come up with a solution. So if you have to do that constantly and you're not used to that, you're going to find yourself outpaced.
And that's definitely something that TSM is really good at. They keep going to the same thing, and even when it doesn't work right away, they're not afraid to do it again and again and again. As long as they think it's the right idea, they'll keep doing it. And eventually they'll do it better than you. And so you might hold out for 6 minutes, 7 minutes, but then finally you go a little too far forward, and next thing you know, Sven's flashing over the wall, knocking up 4 people and setting up that fight.
Off the back end of that Baron, they jump from 4 to 10K gold lead in the matter of minutes, push to win the game rather fluidly from that point. Player of the game is going to go to Sven Skaren, 2-1-7 on that Rek'Sai. It wasn't team victory. I know for us, we were sitting here watching going, well, everybody kind of outplayed their opponents because it was so much a macro-focused game on TSM's side. But for him, is playing that frontliner, that role correctly, and then in terms of having those initiations for those few fights that they did need to pick in order to then secure the objective, such as the Baron, that's why he gets it.
Yeah, I mean, you saw that final fight. He was pretty much the only real big initiation they had there. He gets the knock-up, sets up Bjerg to land some double bombs, and from there they kind of win the rest of the fight just off their gold lead, but he was a big part in getting that gold lead. Slowly we saw him pushing with double lift, getting those turrets down top side.
Yeah, the very crucial Nexus turret.
That wouldn't have been able. That whole game wouldn't have had that 75 gold that he got for himself.
Yeah, you know it. So player of the game, Sven Skaren, good on him. We're out for a quick break, though. When we come back, our match of the week between Envy and TSM resumes. Don't go anywhere. The LCS returns in just a moment.
Wait, can you sing, Vincent? Can you sing for me?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
We need a solo verse for Vincent here.
They do have the extra shields to push through.
On the Seraph, they do take him down.
Wait, look at me.
I ulted Dennis. I heal for you after. I'm looking for stun.
Yeah.
I can go back in. I'm up front. Promise it.
Oh, and Envy gets popped up like a bounce house. TSM's gonna try to keep coming through on this one. Seraph will go down first.
Okay, I'm on Varus. I'm going for him. Speed me.
I'm going to
I'm killing Varus. Varus is dead. Just go as
Baron.
TSM controls game 1, and they take down Envy.